Long time no see, everybody. It is really, really good to be back, and I'm really excited today to also have two new guests that have never before been on the Unfiltered Historian. So we're going to have some fun tonight, talk about some history, and just really chit-chat and catch up because it's been a really long time since we've done anything on here, and it's super exciting to be back. But without any further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce go ahead, Anthony.
We've got the President of the United States on here tonight.
We do. I know. I need to shut up because he's down there at the bottom. Well, we are very honored. We joked. We said Josh was coming on, but
the 16th President of the United States.
407 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty, dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. And Anthony's hair looks completely unkempt.
Dude, you're gonna let Lincoln take a shot?
More kept than it's more kept than Ulysses S. Grant.
That counts for
his
something.
hair.
At least he drinks good whiskey.
Does anybody know exactly what whiskey he drank?
Old Crow.
Let's say goodbye to the 16th president.
No, don't. He's been great.
No.
I think we should.
No, if I get on the camera, my real face will break everyone's computer screens.
That's not what we're trying to do tonight, but I don't think that would happen.
Well, it is great to be here. Thank you for inviting.
Dude, anytime. It's good to have you guys to be here on the first one and be able to talk to some folks that actually like to talk history. Because, like those, they're sometimes hard to come by. So when we have friends that want to talk about that, it's always exciting to sit down and just sometimes casually just go at it about different historical periods. Like most of us here are Civil War historians. We predominantly like to study the Civil War, but every now and again we like to branch off and find these different eras of history that are just really badass and want to get into. Sometimes it's like 1812, the Napoleonic War, you name it. We just go down those holes. Josh is bumped, but he will be back soon. Just stand by there.
Again.
But one of the things that even before the show, Josh and I with Anthony were talking about like what we're going to talk about and how we're going to swing it. One thing that kept coming up, there was like this theme of founding fathers, and ironically, that's very fitting because just as of lately, we've been going to different historical sites, and one of the ones that I visited recently was Montpelier, and that was actually a really interesting thing to go and see because I've never been to even being this close to it. And historical sites, and one of the I learned a lot about Madison. Anthony, do you have any founding father new sites or anything, even if it's not founding father, recently that you've gotten an interest in?
Well, it's a different type of founding father. I enjoy the founding of this nation. The other nation that I love digging into is the founding of the Republic of Ireland and the period of creating a free state and the whole 1916, those founders, right? The signatories of the Easter Proclamation. So I can't really go over there right now, but I was over there for the centenary of it back in 2016. Mr. President,
it's Lincoln's back. I love it.
What's going on?
Well, Josh,
so there's the founding of Ireland. Yes.
Where did Lincoln go?
I don't know.
Hold on.
I don't know.
Hold on. Lincoln's repositioning.
But
Ireland's an interesting one to talk about, man. That's one that I haven't really dove into myself. Have you always been interested?
Have no fear.
Oh, look at that. You got a book recommendation. Sweet. Have you read?
This is a great one.
And another one. So have you read both of those?
I've read The Rising.
Okay.
This one. It's updated for the 1916 anniversary. That's a pretty good book right there.
Good to know.
It goes into not as much the minutiae of the, fight in the GPO or the fight wherever, but it's good about the social and economic background of all the why the revolutionaries took part. This I haven't dug into yet, so I'm looking forward to that one.
That's cool. The 1916 Rising. But you did like that first one?
There's an argument going on behind Abraham Lincoln. Yes, I loved the. I love
That
the
ain't
first
me.
one. I love the first.
No, those are my roommate. They're out there hanging out, watching shows and stuff.
Ah,
Not an argument, thankfully.
I thought there was somebody arguing with Mr. Lincoln.
Well, there's probably a lot of people that would argue with Lincoln, but I'm not.
More like I was arguing with my phone. I tried a different
Mr.
browser
Lincoln, you know
so
what
see
a
if this
phone
works
is?
better. Yes, it's a handheld device. And I can text my mother with it.
No kidding. So, Josh,
Tyler,
go ahead.
yeah.
I was about to say, I was
No, go
going to
ahead.
interview
Go
Josh and
ahead.
get him to talk a little bit. We were just talking kind of about what we're studying outside of the Civil War. So again, we talked about being Civil War historians and all, but you and I earlier were talking a little bit about the Founding Fathers, and you had brought up some stuff to talk about as well. So I'd like to ask you the same question. Like, what are you getting into that's not Civil War related?
Mainly just French and Indian War and going back towards the Revolution with John Adams and the creation of the country. Just dabbling a few other things that aren't related to work, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome.
One might say that the French and Indian War was the first World War.
That's true.
You know what? I wouldn't argue against that.
Neither would
Not
I.
at all. No, I mean, and could you even say that World War I's the Second World War? I think there are other wars in between that could arguably take its place too. So it's a weird road to travel down because it's like, if you break it to that way, then there's a lot of world wars that take place. And Hardy 1863 over there on Twitch. Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, Hardy. I hope you're doing well, man.
I like the name of the hat. I hope that's the name of the hat.
He's
the
a
general.
cool dude.
The general.
So he actually sent me something really cool the other day. I was on Facebook and I get this message, and it's a picture of something his friend got. He had the Titanic Lego set that's like 9,000 fucking pieces, dude. This is huge. Like, holy crap. That's got a hefty price tag on it too. It's closer to $1,000 just to have that thing. And as much as I want to put together a 9,000 piece Lego set, 90. Yeah.
90.
I have ADHD, man. My problem, like the attention to that, I'm going to put a couple of bricks in, and then I'm going to either go to a book or see a squirrel, and my attention's going to be gone.
I don't know if anybody else is watching. Chime in and share what your favorite founding is, the founding of America or the founding of another nation.
Yeah, Hardy.
I'm
actually,
about to Lego piece my connection back together. But you said 9,090 pieces. Bro, I'd do like 10 and then be done with it.
That's what I'm saying.
And I would be confused.
There's no attention span for that. That's just
4.5 feet long.
Yeah, 4.5 feet long.
Damn.
I don't even know where I would put that in my room. Like, I live in an apartment, dude. It's small as shit. So like, that's not fitting in this room at all. As cool as it would be, the price tag and the pieces that thing. No, there's no way to agree to that. So that's always fun. But yeah, another thing, I guess 1812 is the other one I've been kind of getting into, which is really interesting because that's a war I never studied.
A war of 1812 is super interesting.
It is, and that's something that I've never even cared to try to get into before. And I've been to places like I went to Fort McHenry a few probably years ago now, and going there, it was something I got interested in, and then picked up maybe a few books in the bookstore. I think I got one in specific, which was Walter Lord's was it Dawn's Early Light? Mm-hmm. Read that and then just kind of stopped there and never picked anything up again. So we went to McKay's today, which was awesome, and I can't
That's a good
enough.
Yeah,
oh my god, that was awesome. If you like books and it just anything, even it's all fine. There's a bunch of stuff there, but predominantly the books that we would all like. You found the 4th Virginia Cav, which or infantry.
Infantry.
Yeah, not Cav, infantry. Let me correct myself there.
Mm-hmm.
If you've seen Gods in Jackson, you know which regiment we're referring to.
I'm a soldier in the 4th Virginia. That scene takes place.
Yeah, you told me a fun fact today.
Harper's Ferry, which is exactly what Lexington looks like. So,
I didn't know there was mountains in Fredericksburg.
Oh, it's a steep incline.
Yeah, Maurice Heights is actually really tall mountain. Yeah.
You are the 1st Brigade. In the heart of your general.
You are. There's a lot of quotable things, not only from that movie, but many of them. The movie,
Well,
Gettysburg,
there
obviously.
there are storylines that were missed in both Gods and Generals and in that movie about a small South Central Pennsylvania college town that has a battle in it. I mean, one storyline that could have easily overlapped both movies is the storyline of private, then lieutenant colonel, then brigadier general, then major general Francis Channing Barlow. I mean, they missed a great opportunity to include Barlow in that movie. It's insane. Yeah, he is. You want to talk about a relationship between a man and a woman that's better than the two that were in that movie? Francis Barlow, both husband and wife, give to their nation, and they missed it.
You got me beat there because Upton doesn't have a wife until after the war, so I can't.
Barlow
even be
loses.
like,
Barlow loses his wife.
Oh, Readout Productions on YouTube, peeking in for a bit. How's everyone doing? I'm doing
Am
pretty
I
well,
frozen?
man.
Doing solid.
You're doing good. Good to see you, Readout. It's always nice to have you come in. Hope everything's well with you also.
Doing better
I
now.
kind
than
of want to talk
Barlow
about
is,
War of 1812. You mentioned it earlier, and there's this fort named Fort Washington that the British just blew up,
No, the British didn't blow it up.
or the Americans blew it up. But the Captain Dyson was just following his orders, and then he gets court-martialed for it.
Right.
You know,
Oh yeah.
I'm not familiar with the story at all, man.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
My
Yes,
phone
sir.
is showing I'm frozen.
Interesting.
No, so the British showed up in the Potomac. They lobbed 2 shells over the top of the fort. Dyson was told to blow up the fort, known as Fort Warburton, and then retreat. And then they said, "No, we didn't tell you that." And he said, "No, you did. Here's the orders." So that's how they kind of just went up and went to Alexandria and then marched overseas and burnt the freaking capital.
No shit.
Well, this was the British Navy. The British infantry were already advancing through southern Maryland.
Okay.
They landed at Benedict.
At Benedict.
Mm-hmm.
Readout Productions on YouTube. Got a new computer, getting ready for a big weekend on the East Broadtop Railroad. Do I hear Barlow talk?
General, Colonel, Lieutenant Colonel, absolutely. Private.
He likes Barlow, by the way.
Barlow he's an amazing individual.
No, and Daryl Noonan on Twitch. What's going on, Ty? Hey, not much. Just having some good old history talk over here with Anthony and Josh. And Daryl, you're obviously more than welcome to join in and chat if you would like to chat anything. We're here. Contribute. We're talking random bits of history, so anything is fun to talk about tonight.
Since it was mentioned both by somebody commenting and by myself, I guess we can keep going.
We can, because I got another comment
argue with that.
Productions. The history books like Barlow. His soldiers, on the other hand, just opened a door, dude. This is just prepare. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, thanks for having me on, by the way. I forgot to say
Josh,
that.
anytime, man. It's actually really a pleasure to have you guys here. So everybody be prepared. And again, thank you all so much for tuning in tonight on our return episode. It's been a long time, but things are back and set up and good to go. So we wanted to start tonight off right.
Since I'm rocking and roll.
Oh, and I'm drinking beer tonight.
By the way, there's
but I gotta give them a quick shout out. 1781 Brewing Company in the Wilderness, and I think it's still Spotsylvania. It's right on the cusp. But correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's still Spotsy. Have some really good brews, and you should definitely go check them out. Tonight I'm drinking a IPA, of course, because I'm weird. I can't be normal and drink a Bud Light.
I mean, damn it.
Anthony, what's this about Barlow that you were going to share with us? The history books. Let me put the comment back up. I like what a readout has here. He says the history books like Barlow. His soldiers, on the other hand.
There's only one biography on Barlow, so, but well, where is? There's only one book about Barlow, but
he knows his stuff. I'm impressed.
Charlie Fuller was not at once first an impressive-looking figure In his movements, there was an appearance of loose jointedness. There was no doubt to whom is due the credit for the change. In a short time, there was feeling in the air that the strength of the regiment lay in the person of the lieutenant colonel. There's a soldier describing Barlow. Another one. He shrank from no. Let's see. There was no soldier from this state that was his equal in anything which goes towards the making of a great general. Let's see. So there's soldiers there that are talking positively about it. And then he married Robert Gould Shaw's sister.
Whoa, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Really?
In case the viewers don't know, you mentioned Barlow. Anthony is the biggest fan of Barlow I've ever met.
Likewise. I don't think I know anybody.
He's a fanboy.
That's
If
okay.
I shave, I look like.
Josh, one day I'll talk to Upton about your talk to you about
Share
Upton.
that comment. Share that comment. There we go.
Carrying Miss Shaw always helps. Readout, thank you so much for contributing to that. We appreciate it. But yeah, dude, my guy's Upton. I got hooked way back in 2016. And I mean, actually, in the chair behind me, I have Upton's Volume 1 and Volume 2, the letters. So, and then the letters between him and Emily are also sitting there on the mess of a changing table right now.
Was he up to no good? Upton no good?
Are we
Hey,
doing this?
Francis really set the bar low. So
Jesus Christ.
I will do that.
Just don't do the second corps commander. You know, you can't. There's no puns with his name.
That. I will grant
Oh,
you
no.
that.
Oh,
but
Jesus
General Lee, I don't find these funny.
And he sips his drink in pride. Do you guys see this?
Coca-Cola.
He's proud of that right now. I love it.
4 good ones in a row. Well, you know, I used to have a fear of speed bumps, but I'm slowly getting over it.
Oh my God.
Well, you know, you're kind of taking this joke for granted.
Tyler, your losers, your viewers have gone down.
Oh my God.
They're like, what is this shit?
Thanks for having us on. Your viewers.
This is great. No, and you know what? If they don't like to watch it, I'm sorry, but I live for this. I do. I might say that gritting my teeth, but I live for this.
Anybody watching on Facebook?
I'm sure. Yep, we have 2 on Facebook, 4 on YouTube, 1 on Twitch at the moment.
One of them on YouTube is me watching down.
I appreciate you watching.
Anthony's watching himself to make sure he doesn't sound bad. I can't even afford it. I can't even get on and be like, I can't even hear my own voice.
Readout said we took your likes away for those jokes.
This is the one and only time I'll be allowed on here. The one and only time.
No, dude, you're coming back. We're gonna have an episode of historical.
Redeem yourself, okay? I have to redeem myself.
Do better. Jesus Christ.
Do better.
We'll have you come back on, and we'll do an entire episode of we'll have to just do some research on historical puns and come back on and just have an entire conversation in puns. Hey, Kojak, 1863 on Twitch. Hello, Tyler just finished Sean Quigley of the 54th. Okay. What did you think of it? I would actually be interested to hear, as I'm sure Anthony and Josh here would be as well, and everybody else watching.
Anything
let me throw a
54th
question
mass,
out.
I'm interested.
Kojak reads some awesome stuff, by the way. He posts and talks about it a lot, and I really like following what he reads. So his opinion's pretty cool on this stuff, and I'd like to hear what he thinks. But go ahead. What's your question?
Let me throw a question out to the 2 of you and anybody else watching in TV land.
Okay.
I might have an answer. I might
I
not.
hope you do.
If not, make something up.
What is the most? Is it fair to say that there's a turning point? No. Yeah, let's go with that. Is it fair to say that there is a turning point in the war? And the second part of that is why that turning point is not in the small town in Pennsylvania that's got a college.
I like where this is going. Who wants
Why
to
it is
start
not?
with that?
Why it is not?
That's a good question.
that.
Josh, I want to hear what you have to say. I mean, I know
People in TV land can chime in too.
Well, I'm probably going to be wrong. I don't know. But the turning point of the war, I don't think is any specific event. I think it's change in the mentality and essentially the goal of the war, one with the Emancipation Proclamation, and then
That changed.
the slow essential, like they eventually find an actually good commander in George Meade and Ulysses Grant.
Mm-hmm.
And in tandem with Gettysburg and Vicksburg, the entire campaigns themselves are kind of the turning points. You can see these, the high watermark of the Confederacy, whatever they want to claim is that. But slowly, if you watch a map of the Confederacy from 61 to 65, it's just slowly shrinking the entire time.
It is.
The Mississippi is just going, it's becoming more and more blue. And then the overwhelming manpower of the U.S. Army just compresses down on them. And yeah, the Confederates won a couple battles in the East and then a few in the West. But as soon as adequate commanders got in position in the U.S. Army, you can see the difference. Yeah. They're just slowly advancing and using their manpower. And the Anaconda Plan, the constriction of the Southern Confederacy, just wreaks havoc on their entire economy. So, I mean, even General Lee states, like, we can't survive this. This is why he even goes into Pennsylvania in the first place. He's trying to destroy the U.S. Army north of Washington, D.C., because he knows the war can't last much longer.
Yeah. That is a very interesting point to bring up, man. Like alluding to the fact that there's not really a specific battlefield or moment in the battle. That's fantastic. And as much as I want to point to a specific, like, I mean, I can really see your point and actually side with you on that. I mean, I think it's better that we look at it that way too, because we could sit here and almost make it a pissing contest on which battle was a turning point of the war. Gettysburg is certainly not it. I would agree with that for a lot of people. I mean, there are, I can see where the mindset goes with that and why that could be, but we essentially forget an entire campaign if we go with the fact that Gettysburg's a turning point. Like, to hell with what happened at Bristow Station, to hell with what happened at Rappahannock Station and Mine Run and the Buckland races. I mean, there's so many things that are happening in the fall, winter of 63 into the winter of 64 even. Not just limited to the Eastern Theater, like all the shit in the West. You've got Chickamauga, Chattanooga, Missionary Ridge. You've got Atlanta becoming something in 64, but it's just everything around it isn't enough to just placate Gettysburg as a turning point. It's a very unpopular opinion, I know, but whatever. I do see Kojak at the bottom. Is that what? Excellent presentation, Sean Ranger at Boston African. Oh, okay.
You got 3 good comments coming.
Oh, yeah. Let me see what these are saying. Thank you, Anthony. I personally believe the Confederacy were on borrowed time from day one with the blockades. It was improbable that they would win, not impossible, but increasingly improbable the longer the war goes on. And that is also a very intriguing thing to think about. Like the blockades, like when that moment happened, that was the turning point.
Well, that point is, it's totally right.
Yeah.
Even General Lee writes about that. He's like, we have to be relatively aggressive and win this war pretty quickly because the overwhelming manpower of the U.S. Army is or the United States and northern states is going to come down upon us. And he writes about that, talking about it, and advises Jefferson Davis of it.
That's valid too. And Daryl Noonan over there on Twitch as well comes in with, I think for morale of the soldiers, the Army of the Potomac, Gettysburg was one turning point for them. And that's valid. Yeah, because I mean, Chancellorsville was not a fun day for anybody, let alone to be in the Army of the Potomac. That was a very devastating time. 3 days in the wilderness before the actual wilderness. So, you're getting a feel for how that's going to play out in 64 there, and that's horrific. The fighting is intense and close. So you're coming into this campaign in Gettysburg with I wouldn't say completely demoralized, but I mean, at the same time, you're also having to fend off an invasion of the North too. So are you really going up there with the highest spirits in the world after all of this? And then switching a commander right before the battle. Yeah, I can see that. Kojak on Twitch, the first turning point was Fredericksburg. It was the first full destruction of a city. Huh. I don't know.
A fan of Burnside.
Kojak, I don't know. Yes, it's a destruction of a city, but is that enough to justify a turning point? Like what does that the destruction of the city, what does that do?
I'd argue that there's no one turning point, but I like the idea everybody's going with a series of it, right?
Yeah,
That
that's
in
and
the
that
East and West,
yeah.
there are turning points in both theaters, right? I mean, one turning point is 21 July 1861. Another turning point is McClellan arriving outside the gates of Richmond. Another turning point is Lee moving north. Another turning
Yeah.
point is Stones River.
Yeah, you could say the that, not discounting Gettysburg at all because it's an important battle. That yes, it is a important battle for Northern morale.
Oh, sure.
Lee's advanced into Pennsylvania. He had just crushed the Army of the Potomac at Chancellorsville,
Hmm.
and they're fighting on Northern soil now. More militaristically, the strategy, the more important strategic objective is Vicksburg.
Yeah.
But Gettysburg is very important for the Northern morale and the Army's morale overall.
And yeah, that's something, like I said, to very seriously consider. But
Mhm.
everything that we're talking about right now and all these fantastic comments, which I'm about to talk to every single one because you guys are bringing up extremely well points and I love it. Honestly, Josh, it alludes back to your original. There is no definitive turning point because there's so many ones to pick. There's so many different ones you can pick from that kind of shows you there. How can you clearly say this is the turning point? This is when it all changes. You can't because everything has factors in it. Or I'm gonna quote Shrek for a minute because fuck it. It's like an onion, dude. It's got layers to it. It really does. As bad as that quoting is, we're probably gonna lose more likes for that. But seriously,
Well, you're an all-star.
oh shit.
Ogres have layers.
Okay, it's ogre now. It's
Wars
ogre now.
have
We're
layers.
done. Ogre.
More
Done.
like an onion.
It's got the overland. Wow, see, fuck, I read that wrong because of that. But overall, the beginning of the overland campaign also was the start of the end. And that, if I were to pick a specific point, Daryl, I would choose that part in the wilderness too. I would back that. The Grant going south was sort of for morale. I'm not going to go as far as to say it was the turning point because that's not enough to quote that as like the world's turning point. But I do think that it was a morale boost.
And for that matter, you're mentioning wilderness and the Overland campaign. Even before that, it's when Lincoln makes the decision to put Grant in front of or in charge of all Union
Yeah,
armies or U.S. armies.
the minute Grant steps into Culpeper,
Yep.
that's it. It's decided.
I
The
will
minute
attack him
Rosecrans
wherever
is
he
fired.
is.
Hey, that too. That too. Do you think Rosecrans deserved to be fired?
No.
I will defer to y'all. I don't really know much about that.
I-
I'm learning. I'm in the
I-
process of learning. That's why I'm asking Anthony. 'Cause I feel like he would know this.
I don't believe he should have been, because everybody gets tired and stressful and stressed out, and if you don't sleep for many days, and you're in charge of 60, 70,000 men, okay, I like that comment,
Read out production
well
to
said,
Grant
sir.
entering Chattanooga. I'm about to do what's called a pro gamer move.
Right.
Hold my beer.
But hold my cigars. Hold my cigars.
Mm-hmm.
No, but I Sherman was no, sorry. Rosecrans was treated wrongly, but then he could have deferred to somebody else. But the dude was tired, right?
Yeah.
After a week with. There we go. Share that comment.
Excuse me.
There we go.
Rosecrans got a bum deal, but circumstances were against him. Well, speaking of Rosecrans, I will be down in Chickamauga, Chattanooga in a couple weeks. And it's a fun time to be down there, and I can't wait to bring you guys some videos from there. Anthony, I'm going to have to probably ask a shit ton of questions because I still have like such a small amount of knowledge on that battle. And
Great
I want-
battlefield down there. Great,
Oh, it's
great
beautiful.
battlefield.
Yeah, I mean, it is a fantastic battlefield, and I find myself almost more interested in the history or the preservation of the damn thing than I do the battle at times when I go down there. I get so enraptured in that.
Here's an unpopular opinion. That battlefield's cooler than Gettysburg.
Oh, fucking facts.
Oh,
I know. I honestly, I
People are
will
gonna
say
have
that
to
I'm
find
going
it.
to drive 9 hours to go to that battlefield because I mean, it's something different, and it's a different place. And I when I went there again, I'm still lacking knowledge. One of the things that really struck me was going to that damn gun collection.
Yes.
That-
Yes. The collection they have in that
Oh my
visitor
God.
center.
I stayed in there
It's
longer
amazing.
than I care to admit. I was just
you can admit it.
oh,
it's
dude,
fine.
hours. I spent hours in that visitor center, and my excuse was because I kept walking back over to the gun collection, and I'm like,
Well, their visitor center. I like how
it's so cool.
I like that big relief map that they have when you
Mhm.
walk in the front
That
door.
yeah, right.
Showing
It's
the
like that.
entire-
Yeah.
First thing you see, and then I enjoy their museum. When you walk in to the left
Mhm.
along the wall, there's that map of the greater Chattanooga to Chickamauga area where you can see all it. And then they have those. They have an electronic map there too,
Mhm.
but it only focuses on one of the days, right? Which is the third or second
Horseshoe
day,
Ridge.
depending
Or is it
on
Horseshoe
how
Ridge?
You look at it. Yes,
You consider that the second day?
and the first day is really Bragg trying to get across a creek, and then he's like, "Oh wait, they're actually on the other side." And then they bump into each other in the morning, and Bragg's like, "Wait a second, I wanted to attack over here, not over there." And then it goes into that.
May
But I
or
do
may
like,
not. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I said I may or may not have the Civil War animated map of Chickamauga and Chattanooga or Chickamauga from Civil War Trust on my YouTube right now. Trying to reference what you're talking about.
No, it's a great battlefield, man. And if you
There's
haven't
all
been-
the it's like a
good plug, by the way. American Battlefield Trust is freaking awesome. Just to
American
say,
Battlefield
since we're
Trust.
talking about
You
a
mean-
great organization.
you mean the Association for the Preservation of Civil War Sites.
CWPC.
Founded on
PCWS.
Sophia Street.
It's old school nowadays,
PCWS.
which is cool. It is a great, and a lot of us younger guys do find a lot of amazingness, and just reading about the history of that too. Bob Zeller.
I remember
really
I remember that my parents getting mailings when it was called the Civil War Preservation Trust.
CWPT. Yep.
My parents remembers when it was a CWPT.
I'm 27. We're all 27. But
So was the guy that was at 1781, and everybody's 27 for some reason.
Bro,
That's a good
you're
age.
lying. I'm 19. What are you talking about?
Does that help you sleep
Why
at
you
night?
lying?
If it does, then you know what? I'm okay with it.
but
Kojak
Chickamauga,
commented on Twitch, too.
presently reading
Present-
Hood's Tennessee
Ooh.
campaign.
Ooh. And
Grant
Grant
at 200 by Dr. Mikowski, sir. Dr. Mikowski.
That is an awesome title. I am excited to get a hold of that.
If he's watching now or later, hello, Chris.
Yeah, Chris is a good guy, but he puts out some of the best stuff. And I would hope everybody here knows who he is. If not, you need to read some serious stuff by Chris because it's awesome. One thing too, since we're talking about Chickamauga, is we're going to Stones River too on the way. It's another battlefield I've never been to. Have you?
Tennessee Christmas of '64. Good times are had. I have never been to Stones River.
You've never been to Stones River?
No.
No
The only
kidding.
time I've been to Stones River is via the American Battlefield Trust video series with Jim Lewis.
Okay. I'm reading out.
That's the only time I've been. That's the only time I've been to Stones River is virtually.
Okay.
Second
Let
that.
me ask one question. Let me throw one. Alusty. There we go.
Ooh. Chris does 2 chapters in
Florida.
Granite 200. Heck yeah.
Alusty. Let me throw this
Olusty
question
or Olust?
to wrap. I don't know how much longer you want to go, Tyler, but let me throw this
You're
question
good.
out there.
Take your time. You guys go ahead. Oh, let's hear that. From what I've heard about Stones River, it is half of the battlefield is wonderfully preserved, and the other half is gone to redevelopment. Well,
That is pretty typical.
Yeah, I will make sure to report to you once I get down there and tell you what I've got and what it looks like. But Anthony, go ahead and post your question. I'm interested.
Most overrated general on both sides of the entire war.
Phil Sheridan.
I knew that answer was coming.
Okay, how about CSA?
Robert E. Lee.
Lee.
Quick as a bat. I knew that. I mean, okay, since that's an answer that everybody I think would give.
Well, let me change the question.
Okay.
Historic site, battlefield, what have you, from a war that's not the American Civil War in this country. Let's hit the button on that comment there. A battlefield that's not the American Civil War that's either on your in this country that's either on your bucket list or whatnot.
That we haven't seen yet.
That's not the American Civil War.
That's a good
Saratoga.
Question.
Yeah, I want to go up there. That's one of the turning points of the American Revolution.
Okay.
One of the most important wars, frankly, in history.
Because it created us.
Yeah, it created the United States. I mean, and that's not, bragging or anything. It's just that changed the world. Like it or not, foreigners can be like, "Oh, Americans love to be like they're so important." Like it or not, if we didn't win the American Revolution, the world would be completely different.
It would. You're not wrong at all.
Arnold, yeah. I mean, I grew up on an American Revolutionary War battlefield. I spent the first 20 some years of my life living on the Springfield battlefield in Springfield, New Jersey, also Connecticut farms and all that stuff. But in this country, my desired battlefield to visit would probably be River Raisin.
River Raisin.
That's up in Michigan.
Okay.
1812.
A War of 1812. 1812. I mean, one of the coolest battlefields I've ever been to is Horseshoe Bend down there in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
That's a cool site. Creek War / 1812, 1813, 14, 13, one of those 2 years. Well, 1812 is definitely what I want to do. But also, at a close second, Little Bighorn.
Yeah. Little Bighorn, that's a good one. That's a really good one. I know. I saw you picking up that Little Bighorn book today too. I saw that, yeah.
I almost bought it.
He almost did. Yeah, he almost did, man. It was in his hand for probably over a minute. It was probably a good 5 minutes. He said, and he was like, "Nah, I'm good." But he got one book that I was really excited about. Just to quickly pivot back to Civil War and back to this because I have an answer, I think, for this one at this point. He got one book that I was really excited to see him get, and that's the Gallant Dead, which is a documentation of many of the officers and generals that are killed on individual battles. And to me, it was a great resource just to quickly reference, if I needed to, some of the major impacts of these battles when it came to deaths of officers and generals. So the fact that you got something that's as resourceful as that's just cool to see. I rarely ever see it at a bookstore too. So to actually see that on the shelf, I was like, yo, that's a good opportunity. That's a really good book that not many people talk about. So yeah, quick little plug for that one because that's a cool book. Jackson was a butcher. Ooh. Does anybody want to tackle that?
Jackson was a butcher. I mean, that's an interesting statement. I've always heard Grant was a butcher, which he wasn't, but I don't know.
I can't say I disagree or agree. I'm torn with that one. I probably wouldn't be.
Same.
Jackson was a strange dude. That we can all agree on.
What, holding your one arm down below your heart and the other one up above your heart balances your blood while you're riding the horse? Okay,
Which
that's not
Jackson?
strange.
Which Jackson?
Which Jackson?
Wait, which Jackson?
Jackson.
Good clarifying question. You're right.
referenced
We
to
automatically
Jackson.
went to Stonewall.
The one that Josh just described to you. I don't want to say his first name, so I don't want to go far into that one. Hey, said
Andrew.
Andrew.
Andrew. I did get a Jackson book today, though, since we're talking about Jackson. Or you know which one I got, Anthony. We're talking about Andrew Jackson at this point. That was an interesting. He recommended a John Meacham book, which I
the seventh president of the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, he's straight G with a cane on the steps of the Capitol.
Go Capitol.
Or inside the Capitol, correction.
You know, one of my favorite things about being in the Capitol when I was working there, man, was going into the Senate floor and thinking about the crazy ass story of just how that caning was able to fucking happen in what the fuck, dude? That was so crazy. And it's just walking in there, I'm like, yep, I'm standing right here. Poor Charles Sumner was just beat to a bloody pulp, and everybody cheered. Hey,
There's that book by Joanne Freeman about
fantastic. Yeah.
Right.
It's not Blood on the. What is it called?
Field
of Blood. That's what it's called.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Fantastic
at it right
book.
over there.
Yeah, that came out literally the year I started working in the Capitol, and of course that was my commute book back and forth, man. Just to be like, I'm gonna go see that room today. I made sure going into the old. One of the really crazy, actually powerful moments was being able to go to the old Supreme Court room. That's where the fucking Dred Scott case happened. So like that was a little powerful. I was like, oh shit. Like that's kind of, that had implications to say the very least. That happened.
I think oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think you described essentially what a lot of historians have when they have a knowledge of what happened in a space.
Mm-hmm.
And you walk in there and you just feel the power of the space and you're like, wow, this place, just this small little room here.
Yeah,
the Dred Scott decision happened in it, which also changed the course of the country.
Yeah, like
that. John Brown Ford, all these different sites.
Everything.
There's one place I always get that.
Where's that?
No matter how many times I visit, the one place. Let's see. It's in Pennsylvania. And that's the only time I ever get that same feeling every single time. But I'm not going to mention it because it's near and dear to my heart. And to
I think you know which one it is.
And to my families, and to my family, my dad has a strong connection to that place, and so every time the thought of that brings back many memories of growing up in the suburbs of New York City, and the one night looking and you see them both, and then the next day coming home from school and it's a dark sky. So that place in Pennsylvania means a lot on a personal level and on a national level.
Believe me, I totally
patriotism, heroism.
I really want to go to that
on display
soon.
There,
and I should have when I was up in the area.
I can't go there with my father. I can't go there.
No, I don't understand.
Because he lived through it, right? We all lived through it. But,
it's
Yeah, my parents call that the worst day of their lives. Thankfully, no direct interaction, but believe me, I totally understand, Anthony, for reasons that you guys know. Sites like that.
A powerful field in Southwest Pennsylvania. Powerful field.
Yeah, the sites like that are just unparalleled. Especially being that a day like that happened within our own lifetime, and we think all three of us on this discussion, maybe most of us in that discussion that's going on below my unseen face.
We saw Lincoln earlier. It counts, right?
Yeah, like I said earlier, if anybody missed it, I don't want to break your computer screens or phone screens. But yeah, I can totally understand. I mean, I've been to that site a few times, and yeah, that's all I can say about it.
And not to even take away from this, but there was another site in Pennsylvania I visited that's very close to that had a. It wasn't even our life, way out of our lifetime, but had the same impact.
Allegheny Portage. No.
No.
Sorry. Okay, anyway.
Important, but
You want to watch a train go up a hill? You can't even go into a lock.
But yes, no.
There's
I know where you're going.
Yeah, there's one that I had just learned about in passing, and it shocked me because I never honestly have even heard of it. And something of that magnitude happening at one point due to human error, like, man, I couldn't truly a man of culture to shout out.
Allegheny Portage Railroad.
You know what? That's good.
ARPO.
But yeah, that was a crazy place. Like one of the first parks I ever like actually teared up at and had a huge opinion. And I've been to so many Civil War, man, I mean, like countless of them. And I still have my moments there, but nothing like as powerful as that one was.
I mean,
the view.
So being that you guys have mentioned Western Pennsylvania, I'm sorry. Being that you guys have mentioned Western Pennsylvania, there's another park out there that's really important to our American history, and that's Fort Necessity National Battlefield.
Friendship Hill.
Wow.
Friendship Hill, yeah, I got Albert Gallatin, but yeah, the one we are talking about, and just straight out, that's Flight 93. Flight 93 and Fort Necessity are very, very important. Yeah. Sorry, I had to redirect a little bit.
Yeah, no. Visit Ball's Bluff for a feeling of death. That was a start.
Ooh,
that would kind of punch me in the fucking chest. I was like, oh shit. I haven't been yet, dude, and I need to because I've read A Little Short of Boats and I read a few other staff rides that the U.S. Army put out, but I've never had the opportunity to make it to Ball's Bluff, and I would very much like to do that at some point.
Shanks Evans.
That's right. What, Edward Stone or Edward Baker? Baker gets killed there. A sitting U.S. congressman gets killed by a rebel. That pisses me off. Yeah, senator. Thank you. Senator killed by a rebel. California, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
Why is Ball's Bluff so dark? That's a good question. Well, something about big cliffs and not a lot of boats and very idiotic generalship.
It's just absolute murder.
It is.
I've been to it. It's just they get surrounded and driven into the river.
You want to talk about Barksdale like we were talking about earlier? There you go. Isn't that Barksdale's Mississippians there? Or what would later be?
I don't remember.
I'm probably dead wrong, but I have a feeling there's some Mississippi regiments. I'm actually going to fact check myself really quickly so I didn't just spew off bullshit.
That's right.
That's true. One of the smallest national cemeteries.
Yeah.
Ball's Bluff and Fort Stevens.
I've never been to Fort Stevens either.
So worth a trip.
13th Mississippi, 18th Mississippi, 17th Mississippi, 8th Virginia, and
you mentioned the Civil War defenses of Washington. Do you have a favorite?
Never been to a single one.
No.
I worked in Washington all that time. Never made it to a single. Mainly because as soon as I left the Capitol building, I wanted the fuck out of Washington. So I was just, I'm like, it's time. I had to go back to Fredericksburg. So I was like, it's time to go home. So I didn't stick around and hang out in Washington too much.
Fort Foote. That's a great one.
Yeah, Fort Foote's great, and that's not just because I used to work there. But they have some cool weapons.
Yeah.
The Rodmans.
Where is that at in DC?
It's
south of the city.
Is it?
Yeah, across from Fort Washington.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, gentlemen, I think I'm getting ready to call it myself. Do you guys have any last minute thoughts or anything you want to wrap up with tonight?
Thanks for having me and Josh.
You couldn't have been less enthusiastic about that. Be more
Seriously,
enthusiastic.
yeah,
Try it again.
Let's try that again.
Try it again.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
There we go. Yeah, you're,
There we
you're
go.
welcome. I enjoy having you guys on here. So again, anytime you want to come on here and just chat some history, or you just want to catch up with everybody, man, I'd be happy to have you guys.
Yeah.
So I appreciate
add
y'all
more
coming
people
on
next
tonight.
time.
Absolutely, and that goes for a lot of folks. If you guys want to come on and chat, we can start doing this and look out for the episode later tonight too on podcast form. It will be on Spotify as soon as we're able to get it uploaded. And of course, these videos are saved on YouTube, and you can check them out later on Facebook if you haven't seen them while you were in. So with that, I think we are going to say good night. Tomorrow's Friday.
As they
folks.
say in The Sound of Music, so
Yeah.
long, farewell.
It's a good song. But yeah, it's
As they
President's
say
Day
in
week coming up.
Corsica, goodbye.
Goodbye. That's a good movie.
That's what they say. Have a good President's Day weekend. I'm sure we might see more of you guys before then. You might see some cool stuff soon. Trust me, I have a surprise for you guys Saturday. See you later.